In the final act of his adventure, Big Head Fred wanted to visit the circus, but he didn't pass the vicious murderer test.
Blood! Tasty blood! So delicious!
After persuading his way into the circus, he stole a ring from Akabe before playing his game.
Let us see if you have luck's favor.
Unfortunately, I put the recording on pause and forgot to unpause it, but we just drank a potion of invisibility and ran to the end of the jungle for the chest.
You thief! You cheated!
Afterwards, we speak with Wolbrun to get the rune powder bomb and also get access to the flash blinder from the deep gnome blacksmith nearby. When surrendering to the Steel Watcher, a deep gnome rebel shows up to show off how OP the flash blinder is at dealing with the Steel Watchers, and this is going to be very important information for later on.
Villains, take heed. Recovery is imminent.
While taking a long rest between looting, Orin showed up in the camp pretending to be Lae'zel. Or maybe it was Gortash disguised as Orin disguised as Lae'zel? I'm not really sure.
Baal is waiting, Slaughterkin. Do not disappoint him.
After raiding the Sorceress Sundry's vaults, we can finally finish the Necromancy of Fate quest, and in doing so gain access to the Dance Macabre spell. We can then use Zombie Connor to move the chest out of the hallway so we can loot the Helmet of Grit. This is basically going to be always equipped. Then we loot a small collection of brain worms before shoving them all into our eyeballs. I then made my way down to the sewers, and by shooting these hanging corpses you can open the door towards the Baal Temple. Now let me introduce you to my best mate, Strangler Luke. With a ridiculous 20 strength, dex and constitution, he gatekeeps the bone spike gloves, which turns out I didn't need, but I didn't know that at the time. First we fly down here while invisible, and we pass a perception check to reveal them. Otherwise you have to sit here and roll the dice over and 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 over.
One eternity later.
And over again. I'm going to start off by using a scroll of magic missile to break their unstoppable. An elixir of vigilance should guarantee your first turn. Then putting Mind Sanctuary down to make full use of all of our actions and bonus actions. Then I go for a Scorching Ray from Yugi's hand crossbow, before going for a Thunder Wave to try and deal with all the weaker enemies. On our next turn we're lucky to get a big crit with a thrown hand axe, so we can finish them off with another one. Then after looting the gloves we shot the last one off with an arrow roaring thunder. The spellcaster nearby, we can use Psionic Dominance on his ice knife. I didn't realise the Mind Sanctuary forced me to use an action for click heals, so when I flew down towards the red ghost I had to drink a potion of speed for the extra movement. Then we use the magic missile from the Netta hand crossbow to get rid of all the 5 unstoppable charges, before using Repulsor to finish the trial. Before confronting Orin, we're going to need to become an unholy assassin so we can get the Ballast armor. To start off, we're going to let Cora Highberry drink the poison since it's impossible for us to kill him before he runs away. And then back at the Facemaker's boutique, we buff with haste before going into the back. We get a really bad initiative roll and we're so lucky that the only person that attacks us misses. On our turn we disengage before summoning our Dance Macabre to block this door. I go for a black hole before using click heals and going outside the house to get away from any attacks. Unfortunately our ghouls die immediately, and then necrotic damage from their explosion barely dents their HP. Although we have a backup plan, because if we can kite them outside the Steel Watchers will come to help us out. Once the Steel Watchers have been brought into the fray, we set up some difficult terrain outside the door with plant growth before hiding on the roof. Things get a little scary when Doloth uses throwness, but thankfully the only thing he can throw are paralysed potions, and there's no chance of him getting close enough to us. Once Dolor and company are all dead, we can loot all the necessary items to enter the murder trials. although we had an appointment at the bank to attend, but while stealing everyone's life savings, we were rudely interrupted by some Baldurs who had beaten us to the vault. You have to stack initiative gear, come in pre-buff with haste and have Dance Macabre summoned. I should have drank an elixir of vigilance too to guarantee first turn. On my first turn, I'm going to fly down here and use the Scorching Ray scroll to burn the unstoppable charges. And then we're going to use Black Hole since we can move them as they're no longer unstoppable. We need to get us some damage on the spellcaster since they'll be spamming slow before moving into the vault. Although the Baldurs is still able to dash towards us and use its stun through the wall, immediately breaking our concentration on haste, the guards on our side do a good job of focusing on them and burning down their unstoppable charges. It can be a bit of a loss through what happens now, but one of the ghouls comes closer to the Baldurs and that's going to distract them, and the other ghouls are able to get a massive paralyzed proc on one of the Baldurs, meaning each hit that lands will be a crit for 2 turns, so they're basically dead. We don't need them to get kills, just act as a distraction from us. The spellcaster does what they do best and is an annoying casts slow and an area effect that encompasses the entire universe. But one of the guards comes in clutch with a massive critical hit. Since the Baldurs cannot move without taking reaction attacks, it's forced to attack the nearby guards instead of attacking us. Wow, I really forgot how clutch they were on this try because the ranger shuts down concentration on slow immediately. The ghouls also land another paralyzed proc on the other assassin, and the spellcaster goes for, you guessed it, slow. The amount of negative status in Act 3 to avoid was really fun. Yeah. On our turn, I decided to play it safe by using Black Hole to pull the spellcaster closer before I shut the vault door. But apparently stunning gaze can hit me inside the vault, so that was a waste of time. But the ranger is able to break the spellcaster's concentration again. Mr. Glitterbeard throws out a lightning bolt which hits 2 of the Baldurs while also killing our ghoul. But that's okay because they explode when they die. The ghouls really have been the MVPs. Especially since we spent 99.99999% of our time being stunned. The ghouls unfortunately get killed before we get our turn, so we can't see what happens. But by the time our turn comes back around, there's only one assassin left. The last assassin quickly falls and then we're free to loot all the goodies in the vaults. From the Minx encounter in the sewers, we come in pre-buff with haste, and on our first turn we're going to turn off this fire. Then I use magic missile from the net emissary to drain all the unstoppable charges and break this ladder in the process. Before using plant growth from the armor of landfall to create difficult terrain. Then we start using black hole to keep them on the other side of the terrain. As long as you finish your turn in this exact spot, none of the enemies will be able to reach you. Plant growth reduces movement speed to 1/4 while in it, and black hole while putting slow on top of that, coupled together with there being some space between the plant growth and the ladder, is going to be very hard for anyone to jump up. Minx is unfortunately immune to plant growth though. So on our next turn we're going to summon the Dance Macabre to set up some defense. Didn't summon them before because I wanted to be able to place them instead of hoping that AI went the right way. Then we're going to use Scorching Ray from the Hellfire hand crossbow to burst down Minx. Not much happens, but then on Minx's turn, he uses Rush Attack, placing him right next to all the ghouls, and then the Baldurs spellcaster uses Ice Knife, killing the ghouls, and the ghouls' explosion almost kills Minx. I could not have asked for a better turn of events. On our turn we use Black Hole one more time, and then we try to finish off Minx, but he's able to dodge, and our next shot barely connects. From then on, we just focus down an enemy with throwing attacks while keeping them under control with Black Hole. I like to focus on any range-based enemies first and then pick the melee off. I'm not sure why, but my game started really bugging out in Act 3 and would freeze up for about half a second whenever I threw something. We won't be using throwing attacks for much longer though. When it gets to the time that your haste runs out, plant growth will be soon to follow. You'll need to make sure that this Baldurs is dead, since he's the only one who can jump up aside from Minx. I'm not quite able to finish them off, but I go for stage fright and we're lucky to proc frighten on them, so we're safe. After that assassin is dead, you're free to pick them off one by one, as none of them have enough strength to be able to jump up to you. I had a little fun bullying the last Baldurs by using fly, always to put me in a spot where they had to dash and still not be able to reach me, while I chucked javelins into his eye sockets. Now that that's been sorted, it's time to attend the murder trial and become an unholy assassin of Baal. This will let us buy a bunch of goodies from this special trader, most notably the Baldurs armor, which will be basically doubling all damage we do because of the passive ability Aura of Murder. For the Aurin fight, I start off by summoning the Dance Macabre. before buffing with mage armor. We have the 20 temporary HP from the Codex Blessing. Then I use a scroll of mirror image and drink an elixir of universal resistance and buff with haste before the battle. I tried to pass a deception check to free Lizelle, but we rolled a 1. Then we rolled again with inspiration and rolled a 2. And with my final inspiration point, I rolled a 16 and left me with a 24, 1 short of 25. So, sorry Lizelle, I guess. We tried. Kind of brutal that Orin stabs her right in the eyes though. As the Dark Urge, we can use the dialogue option to transform into the Slayer to start the duel to be the chosen of Baal. This will be a 1v1 between Big Head Fred and Orin without any of the Baldurs joining in as long as we stay in the circle. We get really unlucky and Orin opens up with Unsettling Visage, which frightens us, making it so we can't move, and then she rubs the salt in by immediately breaking our concentration on haste. Because of the elixir, we're able to reduce Orin's damage significantly, but the ghouls are able to get an attack off on Orin each, and this is important as it wears down her legendary resistance. On my turn, I use Sumptuous Bloodbath because not only does it cause bleed, but if it does, then we get a small heal every turn, and our attacks get extra effects, most importantly our Slay attack. Then I drink a potion of speed and use multi-attack on Orin. It's important to position yourself in a spot that will make Orin have to run past as many ghouls as possible, as this will wear down her legendary resistance. Once the legendary resistance is gone, it's a lot easier to knock her prone with Relentless Lunge. Orin goes for another attack, but she misses her first hit, so her follow-up hits only do half damage as she does not get the Pierce vulnerability on us. And then we go for Relentless Lunge on our turn. With the bleeding from earlier and her now prone, Slay is going to do way too much damage, with the ghouls finishing off where we couldn't. After the duel is over, it's time to accept our heritage as the chosen of Baal. This will give us some special buffs in the final battle, and we're going to need every bit of help we can find. I got a little too happy about all the new rogue goodies we got from Orin. I didn't need to kill everyone, and I didn't need anything Viconian dropped, but I thought who better than to test out our new goodies on. I start off by summoning the Dance Macabre before drinking an Elixir of Colossus to make us a big boy, and then buffing with haste before running in and attacking. The dagger that Orin dropped is a bound weapon, so you can actually use it as a throwing weapon and get sneak attacks from miles away. I then go for a black hole on a big group of them. And then I decided to try my luck with stage fright, before putting some distance between us. Viconia's shadow steps right next to us though, and things get a little scarier, especially when 3 of the ghouls run in the wrong direction, before getting deleted in a single turn. But none of the Dark Justiciars are able to get near us, and when the final ghoul gets a turn, angered by the stupidity of its fallen brothers, it gets a massive critical hit paralyzed proc combo on Viconia. For some reason I equipped the Crimson Mischief but then put it into my main hand, though when I hit Viconia with this sneak attack, it did a gigaton of damage for a level 1 character. I finished her off with an offhand attack and decided I'd had enough close calls for the day, so I ran away and took a break from recording. When I came back, I decided to just sneak past the Dark Justiciars and lockpick the door in the back, but I ended up almost running out of thieves tools trying to get in. Fortunately, on my last attempt, I got a critical success, and we can head on through. At the Mirror of Loss, I handed over the forbidden knowledge from the Necromancy of Faith since we didn't need it anymore, and got the +2 bonus to our strength. While exploring the city, we stumbled across Volo having a minor disagreement with a group of people. Big Head Fred was still a little mad at Volo for the whole stabbing him in the eye with an ice pick thing though, so I wanted to help Zenter him out since it's the harder of the 2 options. This is the stats and equipment I use. I also drank an Elixir of Vigilance for the initiative bonus. I start off by summoning the Dance Macabre and then we're going to run forward to start the battle. Keen is definitely a very scary opponent. She has high initiative and her throwing attacks do a ridiculous amount of damage. I'm going to start off by using Scorching Ray with a sneak attack. And when I get close enough to have the Aura of Murder on her while I can still attack with advantage, our hand crossbows really didn't do any damage, so I'm going to click heals and get away from Keen. And Keen is going to demonstrate exactly why I needed to run away. Not much happens in the battle until... And this is going to let us quickly get rid of Keen with 2 offhand critical hits. And then I'm going to use a scroll of invisibility. With Keen gone, the Zentrum don't immediately fold and are able to hold their own. And the ghouls really put in a lot of work. They're so strong it's actually silly. With everyone on the high ground dead, the rest of the fight goes the Zentrim's way. I kinda wish I hadn't gotten so lucky with the parrot on Keen, because I was looking forward to trying to kite them around and distract them while the Zentrim killed everyone else. I did get too comfortable near the end in this 9 fingers is almost able to kill us, but they roll a 1 on their attack roll and our counter attack finishes the battle. Before fighting Gortash, I needed to take out the steel watch, so I used invisibility before going into the lab. At the back of the lab you can find a book you need to read for the password. I wanted to keep the room powder bomb in case I needed it for Gortash. Then I lockpicked the door and head on through to the boss room.
As the lock clicks open, the alarm triggers, and the screaming begins.
With an elixir of vigilance and buffing with haste, we're ready for the Steel Watch Titan. First, I'm going to summon the Dance Macabre in these positions. I want them not close enough to each other and on each side to pull aggro the other Steel Watchers. I wasn't so sure the strategy was going to work, so I flew away and made it so none of them could get to me to boost my odds of success. The Ranger doesn't come as close as I was hoping, but both of the swords wielding Steel Watch end up in very good positions for this strategy. Unfortunately though, the Titan ignores the final ghoul and dashes towards us, but its curse is nothing to be worried about. Since the Titan dashed towards me, I'm only able to hit the Titan in 2 melee with the Flashbinder. But this throwball is going to completely shut down any Steel Watch it hits for 2 turns, including the Titan. And it turns out the aura of murder works on the Steel Watch Titan, so we're able to get off some hard hits while it's stunned with the grenade. But we're going to have to make sure we back off to break line of sight on the Ranger. The Ranger kills the final ghoul but still doesn't position itself close enough for the grenade. And on my turn I get off some more damage on the Titan before backing off and closing the door. But this makes the Ranger dash and they're able to run all the way in the room. So I'm going to leave that room and close the door behind me, and it's time to throw another Flashbinder. After getting off a bit more damage, I save a bonus action so I can click heals and fly towards the back of the room. I need to be able to get out a range of the Ranger Titan, so this is really scary for the strategy. This began an interesting game of cat and mouse where I had to go back and forth like this, hoping that the Ranger would line up with the Steel Watchers so that I could get them all with 1 grenade, as I didn't have enough grenades to throw 2 every 2 turns. The one saving grace though is that it is the Ranger, so they can't threaten with any opportunity attacks. And then I found out if I positioned myself here, I would be far enough away that they would need to dash, but not far enough that they would go too far. But it turned out they were still just out of range. Our haste was just about to run out, so I threw another Flashbinder, got off a bit more damage on the Titan, and then tried to put as many obstacles and distance between us. But I should have gone further because I got really lucky here with a Steel Watcher within range. I drink a potion of speed and throw a Flashbinder. I decided to burn my Lithic critical here, hoping to finish the battle, but it's not enough, so I have to back off. Big Head Fred's finishing blow is so powerful that it causes the Steel Watcher Titan to do whatever this is supposed to be. After I loot the boss, I'm going to go invisible to get out of combat and then use the password I found earlier to blow up the factory. Now I had to make my way to Gortash through his small army of followers. I swapped out our boots of speed for the Linebreaker boots I got way back in the Goblin camp, and with haste up and using dash every turn for the Wrath charges, we're able to do a ton of damage with our offhand Crimson Mischief, killing most of the guards in 1 to 2 hits. I did accidentally forget to unpause my recording at the start, so I cleared out this additional room so you can see how strong this setup was. I also decided to go down into the prison to free the councillor. Between us, killing them so quickly and our cape's invisibility dispatching the guards was no problem. I succeeded on a persuasion check on the councillor and then escort them out of the prison. For the room before the ceremony, I decided to just skip it and use invisibility. I thought Gortash would be upstairs, but since I never spoke to him in the ceremony hall earlier, it's only a few of his guards. Just in case I ended up here later, I quickly killed them and went about planning my strategy for fighting Gortash. Fighting Gortash in the ceremony hall was actually a lot of fun, because it turned out I could use his own traps against him. I start off by casting a scroll of haste I'd found earlier, then I sneak in and attack his guards in turn-based mode to start off the battle with everyone surprised. Next I'm going to go around and activate the 2 traps on the right and collect the grenades they drop. Normally these grenades don't do a lot of damage to Gortash since he resists them without his bubble and is immune with his bubble, and when he transforms. But we're going to use a setup that makes him vulnerable to them for 1 turn. After picking up 2 of them on the right side, I drop them both in the middle. I need to move one of the grenades to be on the right side of the throne. You want it to be behind Gortash and in a diagonal line from him so that it pushes him to the left if he fails to save. The other grenade, it doesn't really matter as long as it's not close enough to the first grenade, as we don't want it blowing up just yet. Then I use the hand crossbow shot on the first grenade. This should destroy the shield generator behind Gortash. Now I need to use black hole so that Gortash is on the left side of the hall. And the final action of the turn is to go over to the left side and collect 2 more grenades before ending my turn. I'm not sure why, but the traps on the left side will be able to shoot another grenade each turn, so I collect both of them. You should have 5 concussion grenades now. It's time to split them up and drop them near to where Gortash is. I still need to pull Gortash a bit further left, so I use black hole again. This causes his malfunctioning shield generator to put a shield around him, and this makes him vulnerable to all damage for 1 turn. After moving the grenades around him, I summon Dance Macabre, get some distance and... Unfortunately, I had placed the grenades too close to Gortash. Not only did 2 of them not explode, but the ones that did had blown Gortash out of the way of any serious damage. If doing this strategy, I recommend placing half the grenades on the right side and the other toward the left wall, as this ends up doing a lot more damage. You'll see what I mean in a bit. Now, I literally had never seen this before until I tried to do this run, but Gortash actually has a final form. Although it kinda is just him using Enlarge on himself and getting access to a few new powers, most of which you can just avoid by running away from them. Now, in hindsight, I should have just examined Gortash because I decided to fly in and pick up the 2 surviving concussion grenades, drop them at Gortash's feet and blow them up. But in this form, like I said earlier, Gortash is immune to fire, force and thunder, so damaging him with traps in this form isn't going to work. Kiting Gortash is fairly simple since we can just fly up this side and be way out of reach of everyone. But since turns were taking forever to finish, I ended up pausing it but forgot to unpause it on my turn, so I had to kill Gortash all over again. The story of this run so far. Fortunately, the grenade strategy was very consistent, and as you can see from Gortash's health, placing the grenades further away resulted in him taking a lot more damage. It's even so consistent that the enemies all do basically the exact same thing, as Gortash will demonstrate. It is worth noting that in this form, Gortash can attack you as a reaction, even with the Moondrop Pendant on, so you'll need to use an action to disengage when fighting him as melee before flying away. This much weakened Gortash, and the new Wrath stacking strategy that I'm using finishes off Gortash within a few turns. When he's dead, I loot the Reflector Guard grenades, his Neversone, and then I fly away. I decided against fighting the rest of the guards since just figuring out how to kill Gortash had taken me 4 hours, so I was a little tired of combat. On the way to the final showdown, you can get past this Intellect Devourer ambush by just being in hide. If you're spotted by the Intellect Devourer, just be sure to put yourself back into hide and you'll be okay. I save all my remaining inspiration points for the last dialogue check versus Neverbrain. With advantage on a dexterity check from our armor, I'm able to roll a critical success which will weaken the Neverbrain for the final battle. Now, in what was a rather stupid decision, I decided to let the Emperor use the Neversone and eat Orpheus's brain, because apparently the Emperor is the worst mind flayer to have ever existed. Not only does he have negative movement, but he can only use fly once a turn and does basically 0 damage. Voss wasn't too happy though that I had let the Emperor turn his prince into brain soup, but I was able to get a critical success on a persuasion check to keep him as an ally.
Mother Gith, hear me. Yis Githga Tavki Crashhead.
I tried to sneak my way through the first battle, but since the Emperor has the grace of an elephant on ice, they get themselves spotted when I was almost all the way through. So I decided to leave them behind, hoping that if I kept going the game would teleport the Emperor to my location. And when I fly up here, that's exactly what happens. For the fight against the Neverbrain, I wanted both of us to be hasted, so I used a potion of speed with the Emperor and casted haste on myself. This battle took me about 6 hours in total of research trying to figure out how this could even be possible, which was the longest amount of time I'd spent in a single encounter. For the first turn I'm going to summon a group of allies, doesn't matter which as long as it's a group. Then I throw down a reflector guard that I got from Gortash earlier. This will make it so any projectile is reflected back, and it will even work on the dragon's fire breath. There was a wizard clone here because I'd forgotten to kick Gale, so I quickly killed that. The positioning here had to be on this exact spot or I risked taking opportunity attacks from the dragon. The wizard clone falls easily though. I then flew over to the side here. I didn't want to be too close to the mind flayers because I want them to use magic missile on their turn. I didn't notice at the time, but the reflector guard had missed on one of my allies. On the Emperor's turn, I fly him over to the opposite side, attack this mind flayer and then position him away from the mind flayer, hoping to bait magic missile. Gale being here fortunately wasn't an issue because I can just run and jump him off this roller coaster. The allies move and spread themselves about, and the mind flayers go for magic missiles, which my expert camera control skills definitely caught happening. Unfortunately the dragon attacks one of the tentacles, so its AoE, which cannot be reflected, just deletes 2 of my allies instantly. Also the Emperor got mind blasted, and I guess they failed to save because it said they was lethargic, although if you've ever used the Emperor, you might be convinced that that is their entire thing, being lethargic. The mind flayers all have an effect that will kill us if we attack in melee, so I have to kill them all with hand crossbow shots. The second mind flayer I shoot with a smoke power arrow I had looted earlier and had been saving. I can then finish them off with an offhand sneak attack. On the mind flayer's turn, one of them goes for a magic missile on the Emperor, and I'm not sure who this magic missile was aimed at, because it could have been one of my allies, but I only get to use psionic dominance once per long rest, and I won't need it in the final battle, so I use it now to be safe. The final ally though is a Gigachad because they're able to keep the dragon distracted the entire time. On my turn I'm going to summon Voss and have them use their dragon breath on these 2 mind flayers. You get a cool little cutscene with more pops in a bowl of Cocoa Pops, and then the camera defaults to this position for some reason. Then I quickly finish off both mind flayers. I missed an attack on this one, but it's slow enough that our attack can kill it, and since Call the Weak didn't finish it off, I get invisibility from my cloak. Since the Emperor was asleep last turn, they now have the movement speed of Nick Avocado, so they need to use dash to get close. And because they don't even have permanent mind sanctuary for some reason, I'm unable to do anything else this turn. The only thing that happens is the dragon attacks the Emperor, but since I had placed them out of range, the Big Head Fred were okay. I had also made the Emperor drink an elixir of fire resistance, which I forgot to mention, so it only takes 20 damage. I used my final reflecto guard on me and the Emperor to protect them while they do their thing on the thing. I throw a potion of speed at them for the final battle. I then drink a potion of invisibility and position myself away from the Emperor. On the Emperor's turn I have them do the thing. The dragon uses fire breath, but the reflector guard bounces it safely back towards the dragon. I had to end my turn so that the Emperor could open the portal, but I wonder if manually swapping would have done the same thing. And because I was so tired at this point, I mashed through the cutscene too quickly and ended up skipping my turn. Back on Big Head Fred's turn, I manually swap it over to the Emperor so that I can cause the Neverbrain to do its AoE reaction. Since I had skipped my turn earlier, I'm already at a massive disadvantage and there's 2 areas marked for negation. I used Everard's Black Tentacles with the Emperor, though I'm not sure how relevant that is. Once Big Head Fred is inside, I set up a Mind Sanctuary and summon our Dance on a Car raid nice and close to the Neverbrain. But after going for an attack and seeing how little I did, I panicked a little and threw the potion of speed at the Emperor since they would be lethargic again soon. And somehow they ended up both hasted and lethargic, but it was okay since I had already taken their turn. On my turn I need to use Survival Instinct with Big Head Fred, and then I go into melee attack range, scoring a massive critical hit. The Neverbrain's reaction will kill Big Head Fred and I Dance Macabre, which ends up inflicting heavy damage on the Neverbrain. Survival instinct gets us back up and we're immune to lethargic for some reason. I tried to research why, but unfortunately it wasn't documented anywhere, so if anyone knows why, please leave a comment below. I tried to use slow with the Emperor to stop any further reactions, but Neverbrain saves against it, so I get them to safety and cast Chain Lightning on the brain for a good chunk of damage. And then I get off 3 attacks with Big Head Fred. Now pretty much one more hit will finish the fight, but I don't know if the Neverbrain can still do its AoE attack before it dies, so I decided to transform into the Slayer before delivering the final blow. Plus it seemed appropriate at the time to end the fight this way. It's an 85% chance to hit, and there's no guarantee the Emperor will be able to finish the fight, and we cannot get ourselves to safety afterwards. But just like that, I had finally beaten Tactician mode solo at level 1, and there was only one last thing to do.
Impossible. Pain. Fear. Terror.
I just want to take the time at the end quickly just say a massive thank you to everyone that's joined me throughout the series and helped this channel grow so much over the short time that I've had it. Sorry that this took so long to get this final act out, but with holidays etc, it's just been hard, but I hope you've enjoyed every part of it. Honor mode will be next. I'm already in act 3 if you can believe it, solo at level 1, so look forward to that. Videos coming next. I love you all, much love, goodbye. Please like, comment and subscribe before you go though.